So if you want to learn how to do that, join me right now inside the Cinema 4D. Okay, let's create this animated logo. Now this has got a really nice effect where it just draws on. It's like it's pulling almost some kind of stretchy, kind of taffy kind of material, you know, like it's pulling it thin and it's getting thick around some of the corners, and it's got a lovely texture on it, and it's just kind of jiggling around at the end. And it's a really nice way of kind of animating a logo onto the screen and then even animating it off of the screen if you want to do that. So what I've done is I've already drawn a spline. Now if I just turn this around, you'll see that it's not flat. These kind of hand-drawn splines here, that's making up the word logo, I've actually got them set so they're not all on flat on a plane. You know, that there's a bit of depth in the Z direction, and we need that because when we draw this kind of painted stretchy effect onto it, that's going to get thicker in places. It needs to have enough depth for it to run round it, else it'll all intersect with each other. So this is just a spline that I've drawn. Now I actually drew it over an actual font. So I chose a kind of hand script font and then drew this spline over the top of it. So I found that's the best way. And then once you've got that, you can then go on the side and you can start to just pull these little nodes out and kind of adjust where the depth is afterwards. Okay, so that's all I would say is where they cross over, make sure you've got enough gap between them so that they're not flat. Okay, I mean this is by no means perfect. I mean it's, you know, you can mess around with this until you get these really nice curves and things on here. So this is just like just a quick preview really. So anyway, we start with that, and now what do? We need to make this look like this material I've just shown you. So what we do is we start with a capsule, okay, and then we spin it over on the plus X so it's facing that way. And now we need to apply this around this spline. So to do that we use a spline wrap. And if we put the spline wrap as a child of the capsule, and then here where it says spline, we drop the logo spline into there. And now bit of an issue at the moment, but we can sort that quite easily. So if you click on capsule, it's all to do with the height segments. At the moment there's only 4, so if we increase the height segments, this will start to go round. Now don't worry about it's not very good, there's not much geometry on here, and it's a bit blocky. It doesn't matter because we're going to smooth all that out later. And then on the cap segment, we also want to just increase that because the ends need to spin round as well. So just put it about 40 and 20, and also the rotation segments. We just want to bring them up because they will come in useful in a second. So just bring them up to about 50. And now what we need to do is we need to grab another effector. We need to grab a jiggle effector, which is there. And if we put the jiggle effector also as a child underneath the spline wrap, and then if we go on the object, what we want to do is take the stiffness down around about 10% ish, and let's bring the structural down to 0, and then let's push the drag up to 100. And then on the springs, let's take those down to 1. Now what that will do, I'll just show you what it'll do at the moment. If I press play, look, it won't do anything because a jiggle deformer has to have something moving for it to keep jiggling, you know, for it to give us that initial jiggle effect. So how do we make this move? Right, so what jiggle has, if you look here, look, it's got forces. So we can add some forces into here to make this jiggle move. Now one of the best forces, if we go to simulate and go to forces, is turbulence. Okay, let's just make sure that's right. So On forces, on jiggle, make sure that you drop the turbulence effector into there. Okay. Now on turbulence, we need to put some really big numbers in here. Okay, so in the strength, we need to put 1,000. And the scale, we need to put about 45. I think that'll be okay. So let's just have a look at what that's done. So as you can see, it's now moving it about. Now, as you can see, it's very blocky. So what we need to do is you highlight capsule, and then we do Alt on the keyboard and press the subdivision surface. Now straight away, look, that's smoothed the whole thing out. Now if we just play that, look, you've got this really nice kind of undulating kind of cloth kind of feel, isn't it? It's like, it could be paint, it could be some like cloth. It looks like, it does look a lot like cloth at the moment. It's probably because it's white. But yeah, really nice effect, really nice. Now, the thing I would like to do, rather than that just jiggle around like that, I want the whole thing to move around, you know, like it's like wobbling like a bit of jelly, like the whole thing's got a bit more movement. So what we do on the turbulence, we just make a copy of that. So we've got 2. And this one, we want to bring the strength up to say 1500, and we want the scale to be much bigger, right? So we want say 800 in there. So it's a really big turbulent scale. Now make sure that's also dropped onto the jiggle forces tab there as well. So now when we play it, I don't know if you can see, but here look, it's moving as well as jiggling within itself. It's then overall moving a bit more as well. If I turn that one off, look, you've just got this kind of tight little jiggling going on there, and if you put it back on, it's a lot more smooth, and the whole thing's kind of having sort of a lot more of a kind of rubber, bigger movement. So it's a really nice effect. Now, what else are we going to do with this? Let's think. We're going to add some, well, we need to add some textures, which I'm going to go over in a second. But I wanted this to draw on, you know, like in the video I showed you at the start of this tutorial. So how do we do that? Right. Oh, also, there's another little thing we can do here as well on the spline wrap. So if you have a look on the spline wrap here, let's just change the end mode to clamp, just so it doesn't get bigger as it's flowing through here. So we fit to spline and clamp. Now on the size, what we need to do here is we need to add, if you press Control on the keyboard, and then you can add more points to this line. Okay, so let's just put some points on here. Now if we move this about, this one, I don't know if we have to press play. Yeah, here we go. So if we press play, you'll see what's happening. Look, we've actually got, as I move this around, it's changing the size of these lines. Okay, so you've got a small line as it comes in, and then it goes around the corner and it gets thicker. So if you move these around, you see that? Just by moving these in certain places, they correspond to these letters. So it really depends what look you're after. You can literally just pull these into different locations, and the letters will be the thickness of this kind of this paint or this cloth kind of stretchiness going around it will change as you move these around. Okay. So what I like to do is just add some in, press Control, click on the line, then let's just randomly move this around until we get some really thick lines and some thinner lines. Okay, so it's just keep playing around with this until we've got what we want. I just want to know, we definitely want that up there, because I like the way this starts thinner, then it curves and it's thicker on the back bend. It's a bit like using the calligraphy pen, you know, it's got that kind of thick and thin strokes as it goes round. So let's, yeah, it's a bit trial and error. Just keep moving these little dots around here until you're happy with Let's just move that right down. No, let's move that right up actually. Let's move some of these up so we've got some thicker bands going on as well. Okay. We can probably do better. We can probably spend a bit more time. But yeah, if you start, the ones at the beginning on the 0 line down here will be the thin lines. Then as everything goes higher, they should get thicker. And then as they dip down, they get thinner again. And then at the end, I've got them thinner because it tails off. So that's not bad. That's kind of the thing we want. Right, what else can we do? We can also, if we go down here, look, to rotation, we can do the same thing. We can lift this one up, and I think that is going to give us, let's just try that. Yeah, it's going to rotate the spline as well as have it thicker and thinner around the corners. It's going to actually bank round. So we've got banking here as well, though. We can actually have it banking round the corners, which is really quite smart because it means that it's literally like a calligraphy brush, and you've just turned it round on it on an angle. So just play with these until you get these really nice contours going around these corners, so you get this nice look. I think that's not looking too bad. I think I'd like some thicker and thinner ones though. Let's just see if we can push these up a little. Let's see if we can push these up a little and have some kind of bigger bits in here as well. Let's have some bigger sections. Here we go. Look, that's what I want. There's something a little bit thicker to have on the screen rather than just all thin bits. Okay, let's go with that. Let's go with that. Okay, so we have our redefined line, so it gets thicker and thinner as it goes around corners. Now the other thing we need to do here is we need to keyframe. So go back to 0 on the keyframe. We need to keyframe this drawing on. Okay, so what we do on here, where it says 2, that's 100%. We need to bring that back to 0, and we'll keyframe that. The other thing we need to keyframe is the size strength. So we bring that down to 0 and we keyframe that. The reason for that is, if you don't do that one, it will start with like a bit of a blob before it starts to draw it. We want this to just appear. So if I press play, yeah, it disappears exactly how we want it. We don't want anything to be there when we start to play it. Right, so now if we move it, say, to 300 frames, and then we move this to, just here, all the way up to 100%, and keyframe that, record that position, and the size strength, we need to bring that up to 100 and record that position. So now if we go back to 0 and press play, what it should do is draw this on, and it will get thicker as it draws the logo on like that. Okay, now if you want it to draw on quicker than that, we can key the size strength to happen sooner, which is probably a better effect actually. So if we go to about 100, and then this size strength at 100 there. Okay, so what that means is when it draws on, it will get to full thickness quicker than when it's drawn it on, which I think will be nicer. So let's try that. Yeah, so it's getting thicker already, you see. So it's pulling it round, spinning it round, and then it finishes there. And then when it's stopped, it's undulating. It's got that jiggle that's been controlled by both the turbulence effectors. Okay, so that's why it's still jiggling nicely at the end. Really nice effect, only to be made better if we put a nice texture on here. Right, so what we're going to do is just grab this material, and under color, let's go to texture, and let's put on a gradient. Okay, click on gradient, and let's have some lovely funky colors on here. Right, so we'll have a nice magenta pink, and then the middle one, let's go for some kind of nice kind of goldy yellow color there, and then let's what shall we have, purple, nice sort of purple at the end, okay, something like that. And also what looks really good is if we change the turbulence. Let's add about 50% on there, and you see what it does, it's kind of splattered all the paint together, it's mixed it all together rather than keep it in these bands. The octaves, let's bring them down a little. I think the rest of it might be okay. Yeah, right, at this stage I want to, let's just go back to here, I want to click here again, and I want to copy this shader because I want to put that on a luminance channel. Okay, so we go to luminance and then we click on here and we go paste shader, and it will paste the gradient back in. Okay, so let's just apply this now, shall we, to the capsule. I think if we put it on the capsule, there we go. So we've got this really nice bright kind of logo color on here. Let's just go in a bit closer and have a look. Okay, so you can see these lovely kind of two-tone streaks as it's coming through. Now we can improve this and get a little bit more sheen. What we need to do first, though, we need to add a couple of lights into here. Let's just put in a couple of area lights and just move them out here so it actually shines. Oh, I don't know where that's gone. Oh, there we go. It's gone too far out the scene. It's gone the wrong way in the scene, actually. Aha, that's why. It was in the right place. Okay, so we'll have a light over this side, and let's just have another one just over here, probably a bit higher, something like that. Let's add some area shadows to those. Okay, so we've got the lights in the scene, and now what I want to do is, if we go to the material, I want to add a bump as well. And what we're going to do on the bump is go to texture and add a noise. Now if we change the noise here, the noise type, to gaseous, and then if we take the octaves down, probably, I don't know, let's go to 4, and then this center Y value, let's crank that right up to 1000. Okay, so it'll really stretch this material out and give it this really nice kind of plasticky stretch look to it. And what we can do there, let's also bring up the global scale maybe as well. That may have to go higher. Let's try that. So what this is going to do, let's just go back one to noise and have a look at the strength and see if we can have, see if we need a little bit more strength in there. Okay, I want to have a look at this now and see what it's done to it. Let's just do a quick render. Okay, I think we've got too much. Yeah, there's too much on there. It's not supposed to look, it's supposed to look kind of stretchy. And so if we go to noise and let's take the global scale up a bit more, and also let's I'm trying to think, what can we do? We need to take the bump. So if we go to bump, we need to take this strength of the bump down as well. Let's just try that. That's better. Yeah, that's nicer. Look, we've got it in there. Actually, let's just go that way a little bit more. Okay, not bad. Okay, let's have a look at that. Let's break it back out to there. And let's just play that coming in, and I just want to have a look at how this is going to move. Yeah, that's looking quite nice the way it's flowing around. It's really nice in the colours. And then I want to just pause it at the end here and then just do a render of that screen. Okay, that's not too bad. For that effect, that's not too bad at all. I mean, we can get more, probably some reflection. Let's have a look at reflection. Let's bring up the Beckman and let's add a bit of reflection strength. Let's have lots of specular, and maybe here let's add another kind of bit of a yellow or something into there, a little bit of a shine into there as well. Let's just see what we've got now. Right, so if you have a look, if I go in a bit closer now onto these letters and then render there, you'll see this really nice effect here, that where it's picking up on the lights and it's just shining this lovely texture. Well, thank you for watching that. I hope you've learned loads from watching this video today. If you have and you've liked it, please give Mike a like. It's down here. I'll speak to you soon.